The discipline to stay focused. There's a point in life where you realize that talent isn't enough, desire isn't enough, motivation isn't enough, because motivation comes and goes. Some days you wake up energized, unstoppable, ready to take on the world. Other days you'd rather do nothing, and that's where the difference is made. That's the moment that separates the average from the extraordinary. Focus is not something you stumble into. It's a discipline. It's a choice. It's a decision you make every single day, even when the world tries to pull your attention in 100 different directions. We live in a time filled with distractions, notifications, opinions, noise, but you have to decide what matters. You have to decide what deserves your energy, because whatever you give your focus to grows. The truth is, your mind will try to convince you to take the easy route. It will say, do it tomorrow, rest a little longer, you've done enough. But deep down, you know you want more than just enough. You want to feel proud of who you become. You want to look back one day and say, I chose to rise, I chose to commit, I chose to stay focused. This discipline means saying no to distractions, saying no to excuses, saying no to the old version of yourself that's settled. You don't need to do everything. You only need to do the things that matter. Over and over again, consistency isn't glamorous, but it's powerful. Repetition, routine, daily effort. That's where transformation happens. And there will be days when progress feels invisible. Days where you question whether your effort is even working. But remember this, the seed doesn't sprout the moment you plant it. Growth happens in silence. Progress happens in the dark. Trust that your focus is building something inside you long before you see results. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, you strengthen your character. Every time you show up when it's hard, you prove something to yourself. I am capable of more than I thought, and that feeling is worth everything. Stay focused. Stay committed. Stay in the process. Because when you look back, it won't be the big moments that changed you. It'll be the small ones. The ones nobody saw but you, the moments you pushed when it was hardest to push. And that is where greatness is born. Focus is a disciplined choice. It is not something that simply appears when you need it, and it's not something that arrives with inspiration or excitement. Focus is built through intention. It is shaped through repetition. It is developed through the daily decision to direct your attention toward what matters, even when your mind wants to wander somewhere else. Every day you are given a choice of where to place your energy. You can send it toward growth, or you can allow it to scatter into distractions. Most people never think about this choice because distractions are easy, they are comfortable, they offer instant relief, instant entertainment, and instant escape. But ease does not build destiny, comfort does not create breakthroughs. Focus does. When you choose to focus, especially when you don't feel like it, you are training your mind to obey your goals rather than your impulses. You are teaching yourself that your purpose matters more than temporary pleasure. You are proving to yourself that you are in control of your actions, not your urges. It is a daily act of discipline to sit down, clear your mind, and commit your attention to a single task. That might be work, studying, training, building, or practicing. Whatever your goal is, it demands focused effort, not occasional scattered attempts. The more you return your attention to what matters, the stronger your ability to focus becomes. Focus is like a muscle. The more you use it, the more powerful it grows. But if you allow distractions to rule your mind, your focus weakens and everything becomes harder, tasks take longer, goals feel distant, and discipline becomes a battle. Choosing focus also requires awareness. You have to know what you're focusing on and why. When your purpose is clear, focus becomes easier to maintain. But when your purpose is vague, distractions feel more appealing because the mind always chooses the path of least resistance. Clarity acts as a shield. When you know what you're working toward, you can filter out everything that doesn't support that direction. You become selective. You learn to say no, and saying no is one of the hardest parts of maintaining focus. You have to say no to distractions, disguised as opportunities, no to the comfort of procrastination, no to the immediate but unimportant things that steal the time you need for what truly matters. Every time you say no to a distraction, you say yes to your future. There will be moments when staying focused feels boring, repetitive, or frustrating. The mind craves stimulation, change, and novelty. It looks for something new to entertain itself, but growth often lives in repetition. The progress that truly matters often looks the same day after day. This is where many people give up. Not because they're incapable, but because they believe progress should always be exciting or dramatic. Focus requires patience. It requires understanding that meaningful progress happens slowly, quietly, and steadily. When you choose focus, you are choosing the long game. You are choosing to build something strong instead of chasing something temporary. Choosing focus also means managing your environment. The people around you, the places you spend time in, and the habits you practice either support your ability to focus or weaken it. If your environment is filled with distraction, it will be harder to stay disciplined. But if you intentionally shape your environment to support your goals, removing unnecessary interruptions, organizing your space, limiting the sources of noise, you make the act of focusing easier to sustain. Discipline becomes natural when your environment aligns with your intentions. Focus also requires you to control your inner dialogue. Your mind might try to convince you that you can't do it, that it's too difficult, that you should take a break or do something more enjoyable. You must learn to recognize these signals for what they are. Resistance. Resistance appears whenever you are pushing yourself to grow. It is not a sign to stop. It is a sign that you are on the right path. The moment you push past resistance is the moment you strengthen your discipline. Focus means acknowledging the challenge but choosing persistence anyway. Most importantly, focus is a reflection of self-respect. When you stay committed to what matters, you are honoring your potential, you are honoring your future, you are saying to yourself, I believe in who I can become. That belief is powerful, it fuels discipline. It gives meaning to effort, it makes you unstoppable. Focus is not about being perfect, it is about returning your attention every time it drifts. It is about trying again when you slip. It is about refusing to quit on yourself. The disciplined choice to focus repeatedly is what separates those who dream from those who achieve. It is what turns intention into reality. When you choose focus, you choose your growth, you choose your strength, you choose your future. Consistency is more powerful than motivation. Motivation feels good, it lights a spark inside you, it makes you want to take action, but it never lasts. It rises and falls like a wave, unpredictable and temporary. You might wake up one morning feeling inspired, ready to take on every challenge, but a few days later that fire fades, and you're back where you started, searching for something to push you forward again. Consistency, however, doesn't depend on how you feel. It doesn't care if you're tired, bored, or uninspired. Consistency is about showing up again and again, regardless of emotion. It's about building habits so strong that even on your worst days, you still take a step toward your goal. When you rely only on motivation, you live in cycles of start and stop. You begin with passion, work hard for a short while, then lose momentum. The problem isn't that you lack drive, it's that you're expecting to always feel driven. No one does. Every successful person, every achiever, every creator you've ever admired has felt unmotivated countless times. The difference is they didn't wait for motivation to act, they acted anyway. They made consistency their foundation. Because when you're consistent, you don't need to rely on emotions, you rely on discipline, on commitment, on habit. You build structure around your goals, and structure doesn't depend on inspiration. Consistency may not always be exciting, but it's reliable. It's the quiet force behind every form of mastery, whether it's learning a skill, building a business, or improving your health. The small, repeated actions done daily matter far more than bursts of enthusiasm. The gym sessions you show up for when you don't feel like it count more than the ones done in a wave of energy. The hours you spend practicing when no one's watching shape you more than the moments of applause. Consistency is not glamorous, but it's unstoppable. Because when you do something over and over, even imperfectly, progress becomes inevitable. Motivation can get you started, but consistency keeps you moving. It's the bridge between intention and achievement. Think about it like planting a seed. Motivation plants it, but consistency waters it every day. Without consistency, the seed dries up before it ever becomes something real. Progress needs nourishment, regular effort, steady attention, and the patience to wait for results that don't come overnight. And that's where most people fail. They confuse a lack of motivation for a lack of ability. They think, if I don't feel like doing it, maybe I'm not meant for it. But that's not true. Feelings don't define success. Actions do. What defines you is what you do when the excitement fades, when no one's cheering, when it's just you and the work. Consistency also builds momentum. The more often you show up, the easier it becomes to keep going. It's like pushing a heavy wheel. At first it takes effort, but once it starts rolling, it gains speed. Every small action compounds over time. You might not notice the results right away, but they're happening beneath the surface, building strength, skill, and confidence. The person who works a little every day eventually surpasses the person who works in bursts of effort, because time rewards consistency. The process may be slow, but it's steady, and steady always wins over sporadic. There's another truth about consistency. It creates trust within yourself. Each time you follow through on what you said you'd do, you're proving to yourself that your word matters. You're building integrity with your own mind. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through, and that self-trust is powerful. It eliminates doubt. It silences excuses. It builds confidence not from words, but from evidence. The more consistent you are, the less you question whether you can succeed because your actions have already proven that you can. Of course, being consistent doesn't mean being perfect. It means staying committed even when things go wrong. You'll have setbacks, you'll miss days, you'll make mistakes. But consistency is about returning, not perfection. It's about realigning with your purpose each time you drift. When you build the habit of returning, failure loses its grip on you. A bad day doesn't become a bad week, and a bad week doesn't become the end of the journey. You simply start again. That's what consistency truly means, showing up again and again, no matter what. Over time, consistency transforms you. It builds resilience, patience, and strength. It reshapes your identity. You stop being someone who tries and become someone who does. You stop needing motivation to act because taking action becomes your default mode. That shift is what separates wishful thinking from lasting success. When you are consistent, you don't chase results, you create them. You move from dreaming about change to living it. Motivation may spark the fire, but consistency keeps it burning. Motivation may help you start, but consistency ensures you finish. The days you show up without feeling inspired are the days that define your character the most, because anyone can act when they feel good, but the ones who act regardless of feeling are the ones who change their lives. That's the real power of consistency. It turns ordinary effort into extraordinary outcomes one day at a time. Growth often happens in silence. It doesn't always come with applause, attention, or recognition. Most of the time, the real transformation takes place quietly behind closed doors. When no one is watching, it happens in the early mornings, when the world is still asleep. It happens in the late nights when everything inside you wants to quit, but you choose to keep going. Growth is not loud. It doesn't announce itself. It builds slowly, steadily, patiently, layer by layer, until one day the results become visible, and people call it sudden. But there is nothing sudden about growth. It is earned in silence. The silence is where the internal battle happens. It's where you face doubt, fear, boredom, and frustration. It's where you work when the excitement has faded. It's where you learn to keep going not because of external validation, but because you made a promise to yourself. This is the part no one sees. No one sees the hours of practice, the pages of planning, the repeated failures, the revisions, the self-discipline, the sacrifices. People only see the outcome, and they think it came easily. They don't realize that the success they admire is built from countless unseen moments. The silence is also where patience is tested. Growth rarely matches the speed of your expectations. Even when you're trying your hardest, you might not see progress right away. You might feel stuck, like nothing's changing, but something is changing. You're developing resilience, endurance, and mental strength. Seeds grow underground long before they break through the surface. It takes time for roots to anchor deeply enough to support what's coming next. If growth were immediate, it would crumble just as fast. Silence strengthens you because it forces you to keep going without applause. It forces you to rely on your own commitment instead of external encouragement. Growth in silence also teaches humility. It reminds you that the journey is more important than being seen. It shifts your focus from impressing others to improving yourself. The silence becomes a sacred space where you learn to trust the process. You begin to understand that real progress doesn't need to be displayed. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You simply need to keep working, keep growing, keep becoming better than you were yesterday. When you learn to be comfortable with silent growth, you stop rushing, you stop comparing, you stop doubting. You start cultivating patience and inner confidence. There is strength in choosing to grow quietly. When no one knows what you're building, they can't distract you with noise, judgments, or expectations. They can't rush you or slow you down. You work at your pace. You follow your direction. You learn to move with clarity and intention. In silence, you are free from performing. You are free from the pressure of being seen. You can fail privately, learn privately, and rise privately. Growth becomes personal. It becomes meaningful. It becomes yours, not something shaped or influenced by others. And then, slowly, things begin to change. Your skills sharpen. Your discipline strengthens, your mindset evolves, your resilience deepens. At first, the growth is almost invisible, even to you. But one day you notice you're no longer the person you used to be. Your habits are different, your reactions are calmer, your confidence is stronger, your focus is sharper, the silent work has reshaped you from the inside out, and eventually the results begin to show on the outside. Achievement, progress, transformation. That's when people finally notice. They ask how you did it. They call you lucky, gifted, or naturally talented. They don't see the silence that built you. They don't see the nights you pushed past exhaustion or the days you worked while feeling defeated. They only see the outcome because growth reveals itself only when it is ready. The silence also teaches you to appreciate the journey. When progress is slow and steady, you learn to value every step. You start to understand that growth isn't just about the goal, it's about who you become along the way. The strength, discipline, and character you build in silence stay with you long after the achievement is reached. The journey shapes your identity, it gives depth to your achievements, it makes success meaningful. Growth often happens in silence because silence is where transformation is pure. There are no shortcuts, no performances, no masks, just you, your effort, and your values. The silence is where you prove to yourself that you're serious. Anyone can work hard when they are being watched. True power is working hard when no one sees. So do not be discouraged when your progress is not visible. Do not doubt yourself when results are slow. Do not think nothing is happening just because no one else can see it. The silence is your training ground. The silence is preparing you. Trust the silence. Trust the slow transformation. Trust the unseen progress. Because one day, everything you worked for quietly will speak for itself loudly. Every moment you choose discipline over distraction, you are shaping your future. It may not feel significant in the moment. It may seem like something small, something invisible, something no one else will ever notice. But those small moments are where identity is built. Every time you turn away from distraction and move toward what matters, you are telling yourself, I am committed to my growth. And that message repeated day after day turns into a truth. You begin to see yourself differently. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to recognize your strength. Distraction is always available. It shows up in many forms: your phone, the comfort of doing nothing, the temporary pleasure of entertainment, the pull to avoid discomfort. Distraction feels easy, it feels quick, it feels harmless. But distraction steals time, it steals energy, it steals potential. Every minute spent in distraction is a minute taken away from the life you say you want. It doesn't destroy your goals loudly, it destroys them quietly, slowly, one small choice at a time. It convinces you that you can always start later. It whispers that you can try tomorrow, but tomorrow becomes next week, and next week becomes next year, and suddenly the dream you cared about has faded into regret. Discipline is the opposite. Discipline requires effort. Discipline asks you to push through resistance. It asks you to choose long-term fulfillment over short-term satisfaction. Discipline is often uncomfortable, but it is honest. It is real. It builds something lasting. Every time you choose discipline, even for just a moment, you are building a version of yourself who is stronger, clearer, more capable. You are training your mind to support your goals rather than sabotage them. The moments where discipline matters the most are often the moments when you least want to use it, the days when you feel tired, overwhelmed, bored, or discouraged. These are the days when distraction calls the loudest. These are the days when your mind tries to justify why you deserve to take it easy, why it's okay to ignore your commitments just this once. But these are also the days when discipline has the greatest power. When you show up despite resistance, you are rewiring your habits. You are proving to yourself that your purpose is stronger than your excuses. And that proof changes everything. Some people imagine discipline as something huge and dramatic, but in reality, it is built through small choices repeated consistently. Getting up on time, putting your phone down while you work, finishing the task you started, saying no when distraction tries to pull you away. Each of these choices seems small, but together they form the foundation of your future. Just like a stone wall is built one brick at a time, a strong character is built one disciplined choice at a time. Every moment you choose discipline over distraction, you are moving forward, even if the progress feels slow, even if no one notices, even if you don't see results yet. Progress is not always loud, but it is always happening. Discipline compounds. The more you practice it, the easier it becomes. The first choice is always the hardest. The first step requires the most strength, but every step after that grows lighter because discipline turns into habit. And once something becomes a habit, it becomes part of who you are. The most powerful thing about choosing discipline is that it builds momentum. Success does not come from one big moment of effort. It comes from the accumulation of many tiny moments where you stayed committed. Over time, those moments create confidence. They create skill. They create progress. And eventually, they create transformation. People will look at your life and call you focused, talented, determined. They won't understand that your strength didn't come from motivation. It came from thousands of quiet decisions made when it would have been easier to give in. So the next time you feel the pull of distraction, pause. Remember what you are building. Remember who you want to become. Remember that the future you want depends on the decision you make in that very moment. Choose discipline, not because it is easy, but because it is meaningful. Choose it because every disciplined moment brings you one step closer to the life you deserve. Choose it because your future is shaped not by what you intend to do someday, but by what you do today.